We are here in the heart of the Mon Valley, where the great steel industry of Pennsylvania grew over decades, fueling America's industrial revolution. Fortunately, because of today's action, the story will no longer end there. It can and must be a future where our state policies must encourage, not inhibit, employers and communities who want to think about and look at these sites with a renewed vision for their use.
The land recycling legislation was our first major initiative, and I've always been passionate about it. One, because it was the first major change. It was a transformational change that we embraced, and secondly, because of the potential impact. I mean, we were changing the nature of how an old industrial state had a proud industrial heritage, but we had to figure out a new way to use the old property. We talk about recycling plastic, you talk about recycling paper. How about recycling land? It's a valuable asset. You only have so many acres, and we thought it was a green initiative because for every company you support building on the old infrastructure, they're not tearing up green fields.
In Pennsylvania, well, everywhere, land is a vital resource. Land has both economic and environmental value, and when we restore a brownfield site, every acre of brownfields we restore, we save, I think, around 4 acres of green space. It's really important.
I think the experience that Pennsylvania has had over the last 2 decades shows that we can connect economic development with protection of public health and the environment on a variety of scales, from rehabbing a gas station site to a multi-building industrial complex to sites that span thousands of acres. We've been able to demonstrate that connection between economic development and environmental health at the same time.
We decided to create 3 voluntary standards, much of it based on future use. And if you pick one of those 3 standards, we said, all right, we may give you a little bit of money, but most of it's private sector dollars. And if you clean it up to the standard that you volunteered to conform to, we'll get out of your way. So the big challenge was to get people's mindset changing, that not every site had to be cleaned up to what they called background, to a pristine condition. There were 3 standards, none of which compromised the safety. And whatever option you chose, if you spent the money, it proved to be successful, the place is yours, go hire people.
Speaking as a former mayor of a city of 25,000 people, I know that this program is transformative. It takes dilapidated, blighted properties and returns them to the tax rolls, creates jobs, creates housing opportunities, and really restores community pride.
I have a particular favorite in Harrisburg. Hamilton Health was able to turn around a 4-acre parcel for redevelopment for a full-scale medical facility for low-income residents. It allows people from the neighborhood to walk to a healthcare center to get services ranging from dental to WIC to x-ray to mammography to pediatrics. It's full-scale, and it's intended to target our poorest citizens and most in need of those type of services.
I think this is an example of how if you take a building and you improve the community, we see that private investments have just soared, and it not only has helped to improve the health of the community, but it's been an economic catalyst for the entire South Allison Hill.
In my hometown, my old high school has an athletic field on an old industrial site. Penelec used to have a substation down along the bay. That's been cleaned out, and you've got Blasco Memorial Library there, you got the Maritime Museum there, you got Flagship Niagara there. From the community's point of view, they've added great value, pleasure, enjoyment, and opportunities for men and women to work.
Since 1995, we've redeveloped over 5,000 sites, and that has led to the creation of around 97,000 new jobs. I think the biggest impact is in the surrounding neighborhoods. The communities where these brownfields have been redeveloped have been revitalized by that, and they now have a broader tax base than they had before.
I think it's important to note that one of the reasons that this program was successful in my administration is what not only had bipartisan support, Republicans and Democrats, but we had a Department of Environmental Protection that basically partnered with people who wanted to do the right thing.
We've been doing brownfields redevelopment for 20 years. We have a process and people generally understand it. And because of that level of understanding, investments in brownfields redevelopment are easier to make. So the dollars that could be going to other states are being directed to sites in Pennsylvania because people understand the process and they know that they're going to get full-scale support from both DEP and the private sector and from local governments to advance brownfields projects. That, I think, is the most important lesson that we've all learned, is that putting a good program in place that everybody buys into, from conceptual planning all the way down to site development, is something that's good for Pennsylvanians.
I think as I look into the third decade of Act Two, there are really two questions. The first is, can we connect the redevelopment of brownfields in Pennsylvania with sustainability, with alternative energy development, with effective stormwater management, with energy conservation initiatives? And secondly, the most important question is, can we fully redevelop Pennsylvania's complete inventory of old industrial sites? Can we work ourselves out of business? I think that's a goal worth striving for.